Crafting an outline and thesis statement. When writing in English, it is very important to begin your writing with a thesis statement. In this PowerPoint, we will review what makes a strong thesis statement and how to organize your writing around this statement. Goals for this lesson. 1. In this lesson, we will reinforce and practice the concept of outlining, preparing students to plan for their papers in English. 2. We will introduce the concept of a thesis statement, discussing its characteristics. Be careful, in English, a thesis can mean two different things. It can be the main idea of your paper, or it could be a paper written by a doctoral student. In this lesson, we will be discussing the thesis as the main idea of your essays or research papers. What is a thesis statement? A thesis statement tells the reader what to expect from the rest of the paper. It directly answers the question asked of you. A thesis is an interpretation of a question or subject, not the subject itself. The subject or topic of an essay might be World War II or Moby Dick. A thesis must then offer a way to understand the war or the novel. It is more specific. A thesis makes a claim that others can dispute or argue. It is usually a single sentence near the beginning of your paper. Most often, the thesis goes in the first paragraph and presents your argument to the reader. If you look at the picture to the right, a successful thesis statement will be one sentence. It is usually a statement, not a question. It identifies the subject of the paper, and it takes a stand or tells your side of the argument. First of all, a thesis statement or main claim must be debatable. A thesis statement must be something that people can have varying opinions on. If your thesis statement is something that people generally agree on, there is little reason to debate about it or even write about it. For example, this could be a weak thesis. Pollution is bad for the environment. The word pollution already implies something negative. No one can really argue that pollution is good. An example of a thesis that is debatable is at least 25% of the federal budget should be spent on limiting pollution. This thesis is more specific. People could debate that there are better ways to limit pollution. You are giving your opinion on how to fight pollution, making your thesis stronger. Next, your thesis should be narrow. Your paper will consist of evidence to support your thesis. If your thesis is too vague, you will have a harder time providing evidence to support it. For example, this thesis is too broad. Drug use is detrimental to society. The thesis is way too general. It is unclear what types of drugs the author is discussing and what aspects of society are impacted. An example of a better thesis that is more narrow would be illegal drug use is detrimental because it encourages gang violence. In this second thesis, there is a more specific type of drug use described and a specific aspect of society. In short, you should be as specific as possible in your thesis. Here are some questions to guide yourself when writing your thesis. If you are not sure of how to write your thesis, you can use these questions to guide you in your writing. 1. What is the purpose of my paper? Why am I writing this? 2. What has my research shown about the topic? 3. Why do I have this opinion? Next, in the PowerPoints and slides, you will practice writing theses and making them clear, debatable, and specific.